Hello and welcome to Windows of the Soul, a weekly exploration of the stained glass windows at the Briarcliff Congregational Church. My name is Todd Farnsworth. I'm the pastor at the church, and with me today is Karen Sharman, the author of Glory in Glass and resident expert of all things stained glass here at Briarcliff Congregational Church. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Todd. Nice to be here.
Good to have you with us. I was wondering, as an introduction, if you could just tell us a little bit about the windows here in the Briarcliff Congregational Church.
Sure, love to. Thanks. So the Briarcliff Congregational Church is endowed with many wonderful gifts, spiritual and material. One of the church's priceless treasures is its collection of stained glass windows, which were installed between 1898 and 2007.
It's a long space.
All the windows, yeah. So it's about more than 100 years.
Yeah.
All of the windows were donated as memorial gifts, and that was a tradition started by the church's benefactor, Walter W. Law. Most of the windows represent Bible stories. Some show historic figures and important to Christian history or Christianity, to Christian faith. One or two allow the viewer's imagination to really run wild, which is great.
Yes, indeed.
Others have symbolism with multiple possible interpretations. So each one offers something a little different and a little unique.
Yes, and they're very inspiring. Just the beauty of these windows is incredible.
Totally. I mean, they're all beautiful to look at. They all change slightly as the light moves through the day. And they also are a kind of a reflection of the life and history and traditions of the church, as well as that of the Briarcliff community. So there are 17 stained glass windows in all, representing several well-known studios and decorative arts companies. There's J&R Lamb Studios in New York, William C. Willett of Philadelphia, John Hardman Studios from Birmingham and London, England, and Woodhaven Studios from Bermuda. So we have a little bit of an international thing going on there.
That's pretty remarkable in one church.
Yeah. But perhaps the most well-known among these top-notch companies is Tiffany Studios.
Of course.
And BCC has 7 magnificent Tiffany windows that were installed between 1898 and 1906.
That's quite a span. Well, should we go look at a window now?
Excellent. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, today we are looking at this beautiful window that appears to have Jesus looking up at the words that are above his head. I don't know, maybe he's reading it so he knows what he's doing. And two men looking at him. They may be wondering what he's looking at. And there's a table and Karen, could you tell us what we're looking at here?
Hi, Todd. Sure, I'd love to. So, at first glance, this window looks pretty dark and dull. It's kind of bright today. Yeah. Maybe just a little uninteresting compared with some of the other windows we've looked at already. But it really has everything going for it. Tragedy, drama, mystery, revelation, and there's even some beautiful artistry in this window.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Go on.
It's called Supper at Emmaus, and it was installed in memory of Fritz Brockelmann, who was the husband of Walter Law's daughter, Edith. Okay. And Brockelmann had been in China doing missionary work and died suddenly in Canton in 1902. He was a young man, and the window was dedicated in May of that year. It was the first memorial to a member of the congregation.
Oh.
So we start off with a little tragedy here.
Very sad.
Very sad.
And you don't know what happened to him?
No, I don't know. But his unexpected death was really another tragedy for the Law family.
Yes.
Who had already lost 2 young infant members of their family, as we discussed when we looked at Christ blessing the children and Moses in the flags.
I remember that, yeah.
Right, so they've suffered quite a bit. And so the irony is that for most of his life, apparently, Brockelmann had been planning to donate a window in memory of his mother when she died, and instead it was he who was remembered after his untimely death. So sort of a tragic beginning.
Yes, very sad.
Or reason for this window.
And such a beautiful tribute, though.
Yeah. Although it's unsigned, it is undoubtedly a Tiffany window, one of 7 in the church.
Okay.
Okay, and there are many, many telling effects and traits in the window that reveal the work of Tiffany. You've got the opalescent glass, plated glass, which I'll talk about a little later. The painted faces and hands of the figures. From early on, from the 1870s, Tiffany experimented extensively, developing every kind of glass he could imagine, and studiously avoided any kind of painting on glass, except for, as we noticed, the hands and faces.
Sure.
By keying on his studies in chemistry, really, he found the means to avoid treating the surface itself, so that most of the effects and the depth and the details were created within the glass itself. He was really painting with glass.
That's remarkable.
It's really cool. I mean, he figured he added all kinds of metallic oxides, chromium, cobalt, silver, gold. A lot of stained glass is often expensive because red has a lot of gold in it when you have red glass. But he added all these in sort of complex, untried combinations to get the colorations and the textures that he wanted. And as we mentioned, go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say, well, I'm just looking at the sky here.
Yes.
It is every bit the sky we would see over the Hudson River on a beautiful night. I mean, those colors are magnificent.
Right, and that was one thing that's really worthy of special attention, is the way that the artist has captured that color of the darkening evening sky.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's remarkable.
And I don't know if you can, like the folds in the drapery, you can imagine that the linen or the cloth that the disciples are wearing and Jesus has, that one in particular.
Yeah,
and you see the texture and the woven design that's inside the glass. It's not painted on top of the glass of the robe.
This design here,
right?
Or this here.
No, the design right on his shoulder there. That
pattern there.
The pattern, right? So
is that chemical in the glass?
I think it probably is. Yeah, he somehow has figured out a way to make that. It's very geometric. I'm surprised that most of the other things are more model-y and textural.
Yeah, more fluid.
Very geometric. Right, but it's an amazing.
That's definitely a pattern that has been created, maybe by laying down the chemicals in a line into the glass, and then melting it, right? Yeah.
Or fusing things together. He just fuses glass together. He again puts all these metallic oxides in and lets it cool at different temperatures, so it will the fluorine and the chlorine and all that stuff will model at different colors and different temperatures. You can see the table. Yeah, you can see that very three-dimensional glass.
It's popping right out there.
That's that drapery glass that we spoke about in a couple other windows, and he would wrinkle it and fold it and roll it up and then twist it and then let it cool, and that would create the effects of the folds in these garments.
So if people wanted to, practice that at home, they could make taffy and let it cool quickly.
That's right. It's like a big giant taffy pull.
Well,
and the table itself too. If you zoom back in on the table there, you can see the legs. I don't know if they look like wood or kind of a grain in the wood, or maybe
I would say they look like marble, actually.
Marble.
The top looks like wood. Yeah, that looks like wood grain.
And then the legs are more marbled.
Yep. Look at that.
It's really, really amazing how he's created all these effects.
That is just stunning. And then up here, it does look like a piece of wood laid across. Mm-hmm. To me. Maybe others might. It's in the eye of the beholder.
It's the eye of the beholder, right? So the scene, if you want to pull back and look at the overall window, or even just the 3 people there, that'd be awesome. Right there, that's good. So the scene is depicted on the road to Emmaus, which is a village about 7 miles from Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And according to the New Testament, the road to Emmaus, this appearance is one of the early resurrection appearances of Jesus after his crucifixion and then the discovery of the empty tomb.
Yes.
Both the road to Emmaus as he's traveling and also the subsequent supper at Emmaus when he actually breaks bread with the disciples are popular themes in Christian art. Perhaps most well known is Caravaggio's painting of this theme. But the scene was also painted by other great masters like Titian and Veronese and Velasquez and Rembrandt and probably many others. So it's a very popular scene, and Tiffany's taken it rather than an oil painting and created it in glass. And
so this is the supper.
right. Yeah. So
supper at Emmaus by Tiffany. So it's instead of breakfast at Tiffany's, we have supper at Tiffany.
Right. Supper with Tiffany.
Supper.
So
we had a drum roll effect we could put in there. That's
So now the drama kind of spills into the story, and a little bit of mystery thrown in. So we have Cleopas and an unidentified disciple. Who is that mystery disciple? Are discussing all the strange and frightening events surrounding Jesus' resurrection. So this unknown disciple, and I'm not sure which is which, but it's been suggested in a bunch of sources, various sources, that the unidentified person could be Simon or our friend Nathaniel, Nicodemus, James, and even Luke, who wrote about it. But another source I read, the failure to name Cleopas' companion then allows the reader, or in this case the viewer, to identify with that person, and thereby making the journey along with them and with Jesus.
Yes.
And for me, that sort of reflects back on Mr. Brockelman, who was on his journeys to China spreading the word of God. So maybe a tangential connection there, I'm not sure.
Yes, a missionary on the road.
Yeah. But now another mystery man emerges on the scene, okay? And although Jesus appears and joins their conversation, the disciples don't recognize him. They and then in fact they go on and on and on about all the events that have transpired and talking about it and very excited about it. And they even kind of chastise Jesus. I mean, they say, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who doesn't know what's been happening here?" And it's kind of cool because it reminds me of Nathaniel in our earlier discussion, who said, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" So Jesus is kind of getting the short shrift here.
Everybody undersells him. Yeah.
Right. But then he breaks bread with them.
And their eyes,
shock, awe, revelation, that aha moment. And the artist here has captured the exact moment when Jesus' identity is revealed. And you can see it, if you back out just a little bit more, Todd, you can see it. The one disciple is kind of falling to his knees.
Yes.
And the one who's standing is kind of backing up a little, like, oh, what? You know, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? What am I being revealed? What's being revealed to me?
Yep. Yeah, they're in shock. They're intrigued and shocked at the same time.
Right.
Both those things happening. The one who's kneeling is just staring so intently.
Right, exactly.
And he looks like he's looking at the hand.
Well, that's the next thing, is that the window is fairly dark, but if you zip in on the hand, zoom in on the hand, one of the most striking details about this window is the way that Jesus' left hand, which is holding the bread, is bathed in light. It's really spotlighted. And again, is that the light of recognition, the light of knowledge, the light of revelation? Oh, now I know, because he's broken bread with me, I know who he is.
Yep.
It's very
done
cool.
with his friends so often that I think it reminded them, and his spirit was alive in that breaking of the bread.
Right.
Yes, and look at those hands. Those hands are just so detailed.
And his face, I'm not sure if Frederick Wilson did this window, we don't know for sure. Coloration of Jesus is very typical with the red hair and beard of Wilson design.
Yes, that's the red hair is similar to the red hair in the window about Nathaniel, right? And Jesus.
Right, and also Christ blessing the children, very, very similar.
Yeah.
So, and one last point about this window. In the process of restoration, it was discovered that the kite, which is the upper glass panel, usually with some inscription, and this one has an inscription, has a second piece of amber glass added and fused to the outside. And that might have been to deaden the original brightness of the blue piece on the inside. But this is a technique that Tiffany uses called plating. And so he combines two pieces of glass together to introduce greater depth of color or vibrancy. And we've seen this before in other windows where there's been etched letters. So you have these two pieces of glass and the top layer is etched and you see the bottom layer come through. And in this window it reads, as you can see, he was known of them in breaking of bread. So it looks very kind of muted and mild here. And if you go around to the outside of this window, you will see a solid piece of yellow glass. You won't even know that the inscription is on there.
Yes, and I'm showing them right now so that they can see that. It's amazing. You wouldn't even know. I mean, you could see the figures. You can see the figures from outside here, but that panel at top, it's all a mystery from the outside. Right. And you know what? Faith is often a mystery from the outside, isn't it? Yeah. It
is indeed.
Yeah.
So it's a really beautiful window. It's not one that gets really highlighted very often, so I'm glad we're doing this. It's a really important and amazing story, and
it is.
Really reflects on sort of the mission of the church and of the people that lived its mission throughout the ages, really.
Right, and there's something about that these two people were telling the story of Jesus to a stranger who they thought was a stranger, and as they told the story, he became revealed to them. They drew closer to him than they even knew until they were face to face with him, which is part of the work of missions. Is when we go out, we create our relationships with people. We tell them about our faith through the work that we're doing, and sometimes, and it's a really exciting thing when it happens, as we're talking with people, when we hear them echo back to us or give us their perspective on the work and the story we've told and the work we've done, we have that aha moment where Jesus is known to all of us in that moment. Maybe not in the breaking of the bread, but maybe in the handing of food to somebody who's hungry, or in the holding of a hand of somebody who's grieving, or the opening the door and seeing flowers on your doorstep, that kind of thing. It's that moment, that Emmaus moment, replays itself in our faith lives. So, Karen, do you have any other things about this?
I think that's it for this window.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. It is really a beautiful window and a testament to faith that continues on in the stories we tell and in our relationship with Jesus. We hope that you will continue watching. Tune in each week to Windows of the Soul as we explore other stained glass windows here at the Briarcliff Congregational Church, and then join us on Sunday when, on the Sunday after we put it up on our website, we will be talking about this window and the text that's associated with it as part of the sermon and part of our time of worship together. I'm Todd Farnsworth, and thank you very much, Karen, for sharing your wisdom with us today.
My pleasure, Todd. Thank you.
You've opened our eyes.